All right. Hello, everyone. This is Saul Trodesi, and this time I wanted to make a video about some of the books I actually own, and kind of like a what LaShawn Thomas did with the "What's in Your Stash" series of videos. If you haven't seen that, please go check those out. Those are very inspirational and awesome, and they kind of inspired this type of video. So go ahead and get started. Well, before I get started anyway, basically these books are some of the books that I go through to get inspiration from. Sometimes I get stuck and I like to try and figure out where I'm headed next with what I'm trying to do, or maybe I've lost some motivation. Sometimes it's for nostalgic purposes. Sometimes it's also for techniques that I haven't necessarily memorized. And these type of things help me. And some of them aren't necessarily art books. Some of them are actually, I would say, tutorial books. Some of them are more visual. I use them more visually. And others I can actually read. So yeah, first book on this list is Framed Ink. It's a very highly recommended book by most professional illustrators and people work in movies and also comics. And inside this book, it's basically about drawing and composition, and it's for visual storytellers. As you can see inside the book, it basically breaks down a lot of good understanding of what composition actually is and how you can use it to its fullest extent to get the result you're trying to get. One thing I learned from this book is, everything you see, can be pushed to a certain extent. Let's say silhouettes are one of the main things you can push. Like, you can push silhouettes and they can give off lots of different emotion, lots of different feeling depending on how you push them. And also lighting, things like that, and different ways you can use shape, different ways to actually push the focal point. There should be a focal point basically in every shot, and most times you should have things that find a way to emphasize that focal point in most shots. And usually every shot should have some type of meaning, some type of direction where the reader is supposed to look. And a lot of things in this book show you how many different tools you have to be able to do that. So I really enjoy this book, and it's something I usually come back to. There's a lot of tips and techniques and stuff like that. I say there's two things I like from this book that I don't think it really hit as well as I love it, as well as I've liked it to. It does have a graphic novel portion section of it. It's very short, and I wish that it was a lot longer. Breaks down a lot about characters and how you can push their facial expression, facial features, and everything to kind of stick out and be different and be unique. But most of these things, it seems like they're for they'll work for still images. They do have a continuation section where they talk about, how to put things in sequence, but I would love to see how he would have broken down a lot of these concepts and put them into the graphic novel aesthetic, and seeing how he did push those, because, everything in here, he does have, again, a graphic novel portion in here, but it'd be nice to see more breakdowns of, like, okay, this is how you can do this thing for a movie. And over here is a setup where I'm using the same technique, within comics. That would have been really awesome. But it's still something that's great, and I still recommend it to any and everyone who is developing pictures and having a problem with creating good compositions. I mean, even photographers, that's one of their main, one of the main things they need to learn. So you need to learn good composition if you're trying to make good pictures. Okay? Framed Ink. Alright, next book is Manga Masters of the Art. I got this when I was probably before I was 20, so I probably have had this book for well over 10 years, kind of showing off my age, but yeah, I've had this book for a while. No one that I've known has actually did a review on this book or talked about this book at all. I've seen a lot of people talk about the Comikers series and everything like that, but I'm guessing this book also didn't get a part 2 or anything. But I actually love this book. Like, this book has everything in it, in my opinion, as far as inspiration from, the Japanese mangaka, stuff like that. So I believe this person, Timothy R. Lehman, he basically went and he was able to interview a lot of professional mangaka, and basically, he goes around and in this book, it's also they break down, the genre chart here, which is basically like their style of storytelling, and all of them have different ranges, like eroticism and sensitivity, humor, satire, memorable characters, horror, violence, fantasy, sci-fi. They all have these different breakdowns. You got people like Asumi Akia, Clamp, you got Takahino Inoue, a lot of different people in here. So most of them I don't know, and most of them are not actually popular in the West. So this is really great. It basically breaks down their profile, where they were born, all that good stuff, their first published work, the amount of different, career highlights they have, where their studio is located, whether or not they live at home or with their parents still. They have this really long interview section where they talk about, do you use computer, or do you do everything by hand, or all that type of stuff. This type of stuff is really great because if you're trying to get into this genre and you think, oh well, I need to draw like this or draw like that, or I need to use this tool or that tool, this really shows you that there's a lot of different options out there to create manga or comics. As long as you know what the bare minimum is to tell a story, you can do it with damn near anything. This guy even was able to, draw a Batman comic eventually. So it's another thing. Like, I really dig this book. It's just the beginning of this book. Should have just kept flipping. But yeah, you got Clamp in here. I love this part because it's like they're an all girl group. And they're like a freaking, they work very hard on their stuff, and they work as a team. Somebody gets the story, they write the story, somebody draws, and you got somebody who inks, and you got somebody who tones the characters, and then somebody, one of those four end up coloring the pages. There's a color page, and they have lots of different works here, list of works and everything, list of art books. This is really great. I feel like anything where as though you're showing off your work, you should always have a storefront somewhere available, because that helps, the people who make the stuff you like, or, make the stuff you're interested in, should always have a storefront somewhere, if you have something to sell. But anyway, over here, it also has, a breakdown of all their different tools that they use, what type of paper they use, if they use a copy machine, what type of lead, all the way down to the inking tools, color tools, they use Copic markers, digital tools, all that good stuff. A lot of different people I've never heard of in here that I still don't see very popular, but, all the knowledge is here, and you need as much knowledge as you can when you're first starting out. When you're trying to figure out how to get started, creating, comics, that you're inspired by. Love this guy's work, the guy who does Vagabond. I've bought a few volumes of Slam Dunk. Well, actually, no. I've only been able to buy one, but I love this guy's work. I bought many volumes of Vagabond. Small ones and the 3-in-1s. Very much inspired by his work. And this book is amazing. I still come back to this book. So many different things you can learn from all these different people. The way in which they go about writing their stories, keeping a book with them. writing lots of ideas down all the time. Even while working on one series, they're getting ideas for other series, you know. So, great book. If you can find it, definitely check this book out. It was $25 when it first came out, you know, in the States. So maybe you'll find it for cheaper now, or maybe it's a legendary item. I don't know. Maybe it costs more, but definitely worth getting. If you want a lot of different opinions from the Japanese side of doing comics,